Hello, everyone, and welcome to Our Ventura TV. I'm Sandra Siepak. On today's show, I'd like to welcome Mary Kate D'Souza. She is Chief Legal Officer and Planning Attorney for Estate Planning with Ventura.com. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Mary Kate.
Thanks so much for having me.
Great. We're going to talk a little bit today about estate planning, the benefits, and some of your advice for folks that need to think about estate planning. So my first question would be, why do we need it? Why should people think about estate planning at this point in their life?
Oh, that's a great question. And I hope your audience really pays attention.
Okay.
Everyone over the age of 18 needs estate planning, whether they know it or not.
Wow.
And of course, the older we get, the more we need it, right?
Okay.
It's like packing an umbrella for a rainy day. And, unfortunately, emergencies happen. I mean, just look at COVID as the most recent example, right?
Right.
Life throws us curveballs and we need to be prepared. And if you have your estate planning documents in order, it really helps your family and your loved ones help you when the crisis hits. Okay. And, unfortunately, a lot of people have an understanding that estate planning is only about when you die.
Right.
Actually, it can protect you while you're living.
Okay.
By having your healthcare power of attorney and your financial power of attorney. Those documents really work for you while you're alive, but maybe not able to advocate for yourself. So It gives you an opportunity to say who you want to be in charge.
And so let's talk about those two things you mentioned, healthcare and financial power of attorney, two very important topics. Tell us about that and why it's important for us to have that.
Oh, sure. So a healthcare power of attorney is a document in which you appoint someone to make healthcare decisions for you in the event that you couldn't make them for yourself. Again, calling back to COVID, right? There were a lot of people on respirators and in dire emergency situations. And then the courts were shut down because of COVID, so it was a big mess. If you had a healthcare agent, that person could seamlessly step in and make decisions for you. And really, who do we want to make those most intimate decisions, right? We want someone we trust, we love, we know, who more importantly knows us and knows what we want. That's who we want to appoint to make these decisions. So that's what a healthcare power of attorney enables you to do, is to appoint that one person. You also, again, we're all about planning, all about preparing, belts and suspenders. You name one person to be your first choice, but then if something happens to that person, name a second, or maybe even name a third. So you have your sort of batting order of who's going to make decisions for you. Within that healthcare power of attorney, you can also write down what some of us know as like living will directives. You could say, whether or not you'd want certain life-sustaining treatments. And, as we age, these are all things to think about, what extraordinary measures we would want or not want. And again, the name of the game here, Sandra, is communicating your desires, right? And by putting it in a legally binding format, it doesn't leave anyone wondering, oh, is that what Mary Kate really wanted? Oh, exactly what I wanted because I told you, Good. And in terms of the financial power of attorney, it's similar to the healthcare proxy or healthcare power of attorney in that you're appointing someone to make financial decisions for you, not medical decisions, financial decisions. The thing that can get a little tricky about financial powers of attorney is that they are effective the minute they're signed. So you really have to trust the person that you're giving that power to, that they're not going to abuse it or financially exploit you or what have you. So again, you want to give that authority to someone who you trust, who knows you, knows how you handle your money, and that they'd be able to manage your money if you were incapacitated. It could also be not even just incapacitated, but if you were going to be traveling for an extended time and you didn't want to deal with paying your rent or what have you, this could be the person making those decisions.
Okay, good. Let's talk about the documents that you need to have in place. You mentioned will, you mentioned power of attorney, healthcare, financial. Are there other documents that need to be addressed and included in estate planning?
Well, the other document that we haven't really dived into would be the will, and
Okay.
that's the document that most of us are familiar with from what
Yep.
have you, TV shows, reading mystery novels.
Right.
Who wrote the will and what have you. The will, yes, is the document that shows how you want your hard-earned assets distributed. So it does
Okay.
serve that important feature.
Okay.
Oftentimes I'll encounter people who say, oh, I'm married, my husband will get everything.
Right.
No, I don't own a lot, I don't need that.
Right.
In point of fact, you do. Again, it just makes it so much easier on your loved ones if you say, I want Sally to get this, and I want Sandra to get that.
Right.
It just makes it so much easier. And another important factor that people do not think about when they think about a will is who you're going to name to be in charge.
Right.
This is the person that has the power. It's known as an executor or a personal representative. There are different terms, but
Okay.
this designates the person that's going to wrap up your estate, that's going to gather everything and distribute it according to your wishes. So again, if you don't make that decision, what happens is a judge does, right? And do
Oh,
you really
okay.
want a judge
Right.
making that decision? No, you do not. You want to make the decision. You want to say, this is a person I trust and I know will do a good job, and that's the person I'm appointing. So
Okay.
that's another I would say those are the top three essential legal
Hmm.
documents for
Okay.
estate planning: a will, a financial power of attorney, and a healthcare power of attorney. A living trust, which is another way of distributing your assets. It's another
Good.
way of managing them if you don't want to do a will. Um, but those are really the top three that everyone needs.
And so you mentioned that not just somebody over 55 needs this. We should begin this a little earlier.
100%. At Gentrio, we're really on a mission to evangelize and get people to understand that this is important.
Right.
Really, when you turn 18, and especially, for those grandparents or parents out there who have children going to college,
Okay.
they need a healthcare proxy. They're
Oh,
you no longer have access to their medical information, and heaven forbid something happens and they get in an accident, you're going to have to jump through legal hoops to make decisions for them. But if
that's
you had the
true.
healthcare proxy, you'd be all set. Same with access to financials. If they gave you a power of attorney, then you could manage an account. Again, heaven forbid the worst happened, but we're
Right.
all about preparing and planning.
Right. And that is what this is about, is planning and making sure that things are taken care of, so that you are taken care
Correct.
of. Okay.
That is it 100%. Not only is it important to create these documents, you have to store them in a place that your healthcare agent knows where it is, right? They have to
Okay.
be able to get a copy of it if you're in the hospital. Same with the power of attorney, same with your will. So you really want to make sure that it's stored in a safe but accessible location, because we want people to not only create these
Sure.
documents, but to use them.
Right, which is the whole idea, is that it is
Exactly.
used effectively when you need it. So that is the best thing to have. One thing that people may want to know is, when I create a will and do my estate planning, can it be changed?
Oh, yes. That's one of the reasons why we say start young, because it's easier to do then. It's sort of
Sure.
off in the distance, the
Right.
future, and it's much easier, but it's also easier to edit, right?
Okay.
Once you made a decision, it's easier to change it. Some of us get tripped up. Oh, who do I want to appoint to be my healthcare agent? You
Right.
know. So anyway, to answer your question, 100%, you can always change and modify your estate planning agreements as long as you have capacity. If there
Okay.
comes a point where, if you have a illness which has impaired your cognition, such as Alzheimer's or another type of dementia, and
Okay.
you've passed the point where you understand things, then you can no longer change them.
I
But
see.
while you have capacity, you could make it on Monday and change it on Tuesday. It's no
Well, that's
problem.
good to know.
It
Okay.
is good.
So, in closing, what would you tell people is the most important thing about estate planning?
It protects their choices, their assets, and their loved ones, and more
Okay.
importantly, them. It really enables you to have what you want. And I feel people work really hard in this life, trying
Yes.
to earn money and and raise a family and do right by their loved ones. And by having these
Absolutely.
documents, you're putting the bow on the gift.
Very good.
It's like the final thing, the final gift.
Very good. Well, thank you so very much, Mary Kate D'Souza of Gentrio.com. She is a estate planning attorney. And for all tips and more advice, you can go to their website for that information. And we thank you so much for giving that advice to all our viewers today.
Thank you so much. A pleasure meeting you.
Very good. And thank all of you for joining us today on Our Ventura TV. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.